Introduction, I should mention that Anna is a social scientist and her background is in education policy. So she's really focusing on, she looks at interventions, at innovations in school. What do they work? What is efficient? And that's really great to have you. Please, the floor is yours.
You want to use the computer?
Well, thank you very much. It's really an honor to be here and to present our work. Like Malcolm mentioned, we're just finishing this work, and so any questions or feedback, we can still incorporate them into the paper as we look to publish the results. So I please welcome your tools look like. There has been quite a bit of research out there. Mostly it has been narrative in nature. And so what we try to do is look at it, systemize it, standardize it, and then see what we could ascertain from all of the work. And like I said, so there has been quite a bit of research. Nothing before this study has really taken a look at the studies in a very quantitative way. And I wouldn't say that our study is actually a meta-analysis. It isn't quite large enough. The body of research isn't quite there in order to do that. But we were able to use some tools and some strategies to standardize the studies so that we could make comparisons across inherent differences in the students that we can't control for with the model, but that they're just what we would consider differences that make it so that it wasn't the chess group that created the difference in the performance. So there were a set of studies that were in this Tier 1 category, but most of the studies that we looked at were in Tier 2 or Tier 3. And so that's just a commentary on the nature of the body of research. But as we move forward, I think with the ongoing studies that are in progress, this is going to get better. There are large studies in Italy and England and Spain, and those are really promising in terms of intervention. Was 0.5, a half of a standard deviation. And in education research, that is a quite large effect size. And so we were finding results in that magnitude, which was, do the studies tell a story about how to differentiate between types of programs? Is it something about a particular intervention that is driving the results? It kind of treats chess as just this very general idea. It doesn't get into the details of what did the curriculum look like? What were the instructional strategies? Is this an instructor who is trained in chess, or is this just the regular classroom teacher? What was the duration of the study? There were some studies that didn't have any information about how long the kids were in the chess program. And then again, those long-term outcomes, and really any other sort of moderator variable.
After school programs, I've been trying to imagine how you do an unbiased selection of the test group versus the control group. So
Sure.
Can you say how they did it?
Yeah, so those were older studies. One was in the 1970s and one was in the 1980s. And they basically just had kids encouraged to participate in their club, and then they randomly assigned the kids to either participate or not. So it was a control in that sense. So what you're doing is you're comparing the kids who are in treatment to kids in the control who had that same level of enthusiasm about participating in chess, but they just weren't able to because of the study design.
We have another question there. Just briefly say, we have a guest from Armenia, where there is now a lot of work in school chess because there's a national, all the kids are learning chess now at school in Armenia, and there's a major study going on there. Edward, please, your question.
Thank you. Sure, I am working more in science than in application to education, but anyway, I think it has to be an impact. Thank you for your presentation. My question is, how you fix to measure the impact of chess intervention, you have to fix the initial level of scholars. How do you do that?
Sure,
and what are the criteria and just attributes you fixing the initial level?
Sure. So that's again getting into this question of how do you create a study that is going to be able to reliably compare the control and treatment. And so in our classification system, we were treating those Tier 1 studies as they have done that. They have either used random assignments, so even if all the kids in the study wanted to participate in chess, which would make them different than kids who don't want to, then they were randomly assigned into either control or treatment, so you can make that comparison. The studies that are ongoing right now, and this idea of chess in schools, is that they are comparing, one school, the entire school receives chess, and another school doesn't. And so you're making that comparison there, or you can do it at the classroom level. But it's again, it's the assignment, random assignment.
You may have heard of this big overview done by Hattie on education interventions, on education studies. And I think he said, he looked at effect sizes too, and I think he said something like, everything under 0.4, forget about it, it's not very relevant. Did he measure, is it the same effect size that you are using, or is there a difference? And,
no, I'm not familiar with that, so I just wanted to say. The idea of this effect size is because we're looking at studies that use many different outcomes. They use different assessments, they're across different countries, so it's going to be a different standardized assessment.